I have a friend who's a painter, and she painted a picture of Jesus with his hands out like this. And a friend who's a non-Christian looked at the picture and said, typical. Church always has its hand out for money. So a Christian painted one way, seeing something very powerful, and it was seen completely the opposite direction. We are very much seen that way. I run into congregations that tell me about their outreach programs. Their outreach program is the fall supper, the garage sale. No, those aren't outreach. Those aren't outreach. They're about trying to about survival as the core of what's driving those things. No, we need to shift this. There's something extraordinarily winsome about people who are prepared to give it all away for somebody else. And that's what we want the church to be about. Small congregation in Ontario that I was involved with developed a reputation by running a vacation Bible school one week a year for about 25 years as being the church that cared about kids in that community. What a reputation to have, to be the church that cares about kids on the basis of running a free VBS 1 week a year. It doesn't take a lot of work, but it's a fundamentally different way of thinking of ourselves as reaching out, of being beyond ourselves, of acting with extraordinary generosity, and that's heard loudly in communities.
I think we, in the United Methodist Church, we have a lot of churches kind of on life support who are just holding on. And for them to see that they have gifts and strengths that match needs in the community, and to stop looking inward to look at, that's where they find hope, and that's where they find passion and can actually achieve some growth. That's not the goal, but it happens, and that's really exciting to be a part of. But when you're in survival mode, all you can do is look internally.
So how do you move them from survival? That's the question. How do you do it?
Well, I think it's listening to you talk. I think a lot of our churches have to change kind of what they think is the organizing principle for church. So we need to shift how we view church. Like you're talking about the suppers, that could actually become an outreach to the community. The garage sales, we had a rummage sale where we raised many thousands of dollars, and all the proceeds of that didn't go into the functioning of the church, but to some purpose in helping the community. And
That's key, though.
Right, and it was also a place where a lot of people in the community came to help volunteer. And so, what is the organizing principle for us? And that's what we've been challenged with. Is it to maintain an institution, or is it really the organizing principle is to be on mission in our communities? And even that brings us to a shift, I think, in how we view God. How do we view God? And in the missional circles, we see God as a God who is on mission. As the Father has sent me, so I send you. That we join in that, and so all of our resources and time and people aren't just spent maintaining the four walls of our church and our budgets. It's much more missional than that. So
yeah, I think this is a huge challenge, and like Heather, a lot of our churches are kind of in that struggling mode, small. We've lived beyond our means for many decades, especially in terms of leadership and what we could afford and how we have pastoral leadership in our congregations and the facilities that we would have. And I think that we have some fundamental questions to work at related to property and people, because I think those are two things that really hold back the kind of creative energy. They hold back the sense of giving freely, because there are these obligations that we've taken on, and we take them seriously. We take seriously our leaders. We feel that we should support them. We take seriously the stewardship of our property as we talk about it. So we either have to figure out how to convert those obligations to to generosity,
Yes.
or we have to get away from them somehow. I mean, we have a church that I actually was a part of. It was a growing congregation when I was a part of it. I was a lay member. I wasn't the pastor. We outgrew a small facility we were in. We bought a new to us former another denomination's church in that community. We inhabited it. We began to use it to try to reach the community, but within 10 years, the mission of that congregation has changed to the point where they're now selling possibly that church building and taking different forms with ministry. They've moved from what used to be full-time to a more kind of bivocational ministry model, and are seeking other ways of staying generous in the community, but not having this heavy obligation of a mortgage and a pastoral salary and so forth. So I think that's a huge question for us, is how do we deal with it's not just the organization of the church, but it's really the assets of the church as we have come to understand them. And what are we willing to do to really free ourselves for the mission, for the ministry of Christ in the community?
And I think in terms of, like, for us, in terms of the organizing principle, I think that helps us look at how our energy and budgets and everything are being used. There's a number of our denominations use the program called New Beginnings. And part of that really is looking at kind of how is your church using the resources? How effective are they in terms of impact and transformation in the community? So yeah, I totally agree. The other thing that you said that piqued my interest was members and disciples. Because I think for us, membership involves giving some money, serving on a committee, coming when you can, saying some words at the beginning, when you join. I don't know if we require a lot, which is different than disciples. So another author talks about it. We need to shift from focusing on programs to focusing on developing people, and that we can't measure our success by the quality of our programs, but by the quality of our people. So for me, kind of what we're working on too is how do we make disciples? How do we help in that process? How do we develop people and not just focus on all of our programming, which takes up a lot of our time in our churches?
And I think to tie into the generosity, that's not just about money, but and the stewardship of our whole lives, and our community and our facilities, which is more about discipleship than being a good church member.